subscribers, how you all doing? I am coming on here just to kind of say, well, to update you on what's been going on. So last week, I went and I had a consultation with an oral surgeon. It went well. Then I had the surgery that week. I met him Wednesday, and then I had the surgery on Friday. So throughout the weekend, I was recovering. And I tell you, the doctor did a phenomenal job. I didn't have any issues afterwards, just sore in my mouth and everything. I also found out that when the consultation, all my teeth are not right. They're fine. Um, and I don't need an implant for the tooth that he was taking out. Um, Maybe later for one or two like on this side. But I told you a few weeks ago I'm dealing with my lupus is just going crazy. And so last night, getting ready for bed, it was around 7, 8ish, and I just felt like chills, and um, it just came on me real quick. Chills and cold and shaky, and I checked my temperature, and it had fever. It was 101, so I took some Tylenol. Then after that, tried to go to sleep, and it just would not get any better. I kept waking up because I couldn't sleep. I was sweating. I was tossing and turning. I was having chills. Everything hurt. The sheets hurt. My body hurt. I kept checking my temperature. It kept showing 101. Praying like, Lord, help me, so I won't have to, um, you know, help me to comfort me. Tylenol. Then my ears started hurting. I put some eardrops. I have a prescription for an eardrop, my ears, and I just could not find any comfort. Um, I spoke with my, so um, I waited until the doctor's office was open this morning, and I called and asked for an appointment, explaining what happened, and I have an appointment with them later on this evening. Too, we're gonna wait till because it's raining, cats and dogs out here, and the our lights keep going on and off because of the thunderstorms. But today I let my youngest stay home for 2 days with the rain and everything, so he won't be trying to get in and out, trying to take him to school and all that. But they're home with me, watching me. Um, Actually, I just woke up from a little, maybe hour or so nap. Um, Hi y'all, hi. So so let's go back a little bit. So when he I went in for the consultation. Um, I I actually called the week before, and I spoke with um, the receptionist, and I said I need to see somebody as soon as possible. She was so kind and so sweet. The name of the doctor's office is called Pearland Oral Surgery and Max something place. So this particular doctor group, they work out of Houston and Pearland. And I met with him Wednesday at the appointment. Matter of fact, I was in so much pain. Let me tell y'all, I went. I took my oldest, and I thought my appointment was Monday, so I drove over there, and I'm looking and looking, and I called and I said, I'm trying to find y'all a spot. Y'all be building. I can't even get to my GPS and saying something else. And she said, well, Miss Kelly, your appointment not till Wednesday. I was like, oh, shoot. Somebody to come and take care of me. So Anyway, I go in Wednesday and I have the consultation. He did the X-rays, and turns out I'm not going to lose all of my teeth. They're not severely damaged, decayed from the chemo. It was just this one that could not be saved. It broken all off. Couldn't do a root canal, which I was glad because I didn't want to save none of that and just snatch it all out. I was at the point where I was like, look, I'm about to go take some nose pliers and a bottle of whiskey and take my chances. This is me being facetious, but that's just how bad it was. But and then so had the surgery Friday morning. My husband took me, and one other thing, I got I asked for sedation. So I'm at the point now when I go to the dentist, um, the sensation of the tools and everything, and then also when I need to have dental work like that, like teeth pull, my body does not tolerate lidocaine anymore. It just I can feel it all. So this was when we came to that realization. I think, matter of fact, I was pregnant with Dave. I didn't even we didn't know it, but so um, they did sedation out through the IV, and he took it out. Woke up saying, "Is it? Are y'all finished?" Oh, another thing I did while he was prepping me. I said, "Excuse me, can I give me some minutes? Let me pray." And they was like, "Sure." And I sat there and I prayed. I don't know if you all know this, but every time I have a procedure, um, I ask, can I need to pray while I am while they're prepping. God has to be in the midst of all of this. Um, so from there, they did the took the tooth out. He saved it for me. It was like he said it came out like bits and pieces, but nevertheless, it came out. So the whole weekend, I took it easy. I rest. It was supposed to be just like couch, just chilling. So I rest. I laid down. I got up. I laid down. Um, I ate what I could eat, and not trying to hurt the back of my teeth. Although I was able to eat a little bit better now that that tooth was out, but keeping it clean, taking the antibiotics. Matter of fact, the week before I went to see my PCP doctor, and the nurse practitioner asked her to prescribe me some antibiotics until I can get with a new oral surgeon. And and then that's when that evening I called around for oral surgeons. But so I've been on the antibiotics, and my body it doesn't like antibiotics. I don't. I'm not sure why, but from what I was kind of told was that because I have that adrenaline deficiency and things. What you gonna get you some water? He coming to get some iced tea. So yeah, and so that's what happened. You know, everything was going well. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then here it was last night. Getting ready for bed, getting the boys ready for bed, changing him, and Davy getting him ready for bed, putting his pajamas on. And I just felt this chill, this like like the flu. Like when you have the flu and you have the chills, you have um the sweating, and I was like, okay, let me take my temperature and see what's going on, because at that point I haven't had any fevers in a good little minute, and it was like 100. And I was okay. Okay, what did I do? Like what? Trying to remember what. I said, okay, maybe my body saying, you know, you either did it too much, you either overdid something, just rest. So I took some Tylenol before I went to bed, took my regular night medicine. Y'all, all night long, I tossed and turned. I, hi, how you all doing? Hi. I tossed and turned. I was sweating. I was, um, my body was in just so much pain. And, um, I got my cold pack out from the freezer. I put it behind my neck to kind of break the fever up. That gave me some relief so I can be able to sleep maybe a good 30 minutes. But I get right back up and do this all over again. It was all night long. I remember telling my husband, I think we need to go to the hospital. This is bad. And and then um, kept using the restroom. Had to keep going to the restroom after night. Going to the restroom. Oh, this just does not feel right. Y'all, for one, I say I am so happy that the tooth is out. Oh man, I just, whew, we're talking a couple years dealing with this. But I just don't understand where this thing is coming with feeling like the flu and the fever and all of that stuff. So I go back in today at 2 so we can check it and see what's going on and stuff. But and I also have like some mouthwash and different things to kind of keep everything. But it just came over me all of a sudden. So I ended up canceling. And so I kept. Yesterday I called to have um, my youngest to stay home because of the rain. But for everything else, I said, well, I'll just reschedule things till I get better. And I had some therapy appointments that was supposed to come today. Supposed to do a physical therapy evaluation today, and I let the therapist know, hey, don't come. This weather's really bad. And then I let them know this morning when I was kind of getting up, trying to get myself together. I said, don't worry about scheduling me. I have a fever, and I don't know what it is. I think that it is my lupus is just acting real crazy because we had those surgeries. At the surgery, I'm just that's my educated guess on it. But I'm hoping and praying that when I see the doctor this evening, he can give me something for it to help out. Whew, it has been it's been a roller coaster the last couple of weeks. Um, Trying to get the surgeon and then get the surgery done and all of that, and then now with this fever situation, um, is taking a toll on me. Hmm. Um, so that's where I'm at right now with it. I'm laying down. I have the boys here, and my my youngest said, "Mommy, I want to go to Papa and Tia house." So I said, "Well, okay, I'm gonna let you call them and you can talk to them." And so they called my parents and they said, I want to go over your house. I want to go to your house and play and hang out. My mom and dad said, okay. I said, but y'all need to clean up your room before you come over here. So, and that's been one of the like running jokes is um, my mom would tell the boys, okay, y'all gotta clean up your room before you leave your house to come to our house. And y'all know they clean up their room. So that helps out a whole lot. Um, and all morning they've been there cleaning. I haven't went in and checked on it yet, but I did hear the vacuum cleaner going and stuff. I said, okay, they ain't doing what they're supposed to do. My youngest said, "Mommy, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna take care of you." I said, "Oh, thank you, sweetheart." Uh, so I'm trying to figure out. I want to make sure I'm saying hello to everyone, whoever who's on here. Shanice Hamilton and Ho Go. Thank you all for coming on to this live, this impromptu live. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, this whole situation has kind of threw me off my game of finishing, of working out content for you all. I working this stuff and pushing my content stuff out. But I also say, I got to at least talk to y'all and let y'all know what's going on and just say hey and give you an update and everything. I thank you all so much for being subscribers. Um, it means the world to me. Thank you for listening and following me and encouraging me. I love you all. Um, so right now I'm just trying to rest and just get get better the best way I can. Anybody have any questions y'all want to talk about or ask me something? And has anybody ever had to deal with or get in um, going to an actual oral surgeon, which was two different things? Hello, hey, girl, how you doing? Hey, how you say that? Girl, don't get me to try to pronounce some stuff. Uh, ASA Wars Vlogs. Okay. Hey, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for being top fans. I appreciate it. Um, but has anybody ever had to deal with, going to having to the actual oral surgeon to get your teeth pulled? Um, yeah. And for me, let me tell you, I was for the oh man for the last because I had an appointment with another oral surgeon, but I missed the appointment in April because we were having really bad thunderstorms, and I was not getting outside in that rain with the thunderstorm. So I rescheduled for next year, but I was like, I can't wait that long. Um, oh, okay. So you had a broken leg. Oh, okay. Do do anybody? I mean, so um, how do you all handle your if you're going to have surgery? How do you all handle your surgeries? Like for me, when I'm going to have surgery and I'm getting prepped and they putting the IV in and all that stuff, I ask, let's let me pray, and I pray for the entire room. So does anybody do anything like that, or y'all just keep going, or you haven't had that experience yet? Okay. Oh, okay, okay. You honestly never had surgery. Okay. So with your broken leg, they just mend you up and put you and let you rest with the cast on. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Um, a funny part of this story, and to me, it's funny because okay, on the papers for the oral surgeon asks, what like I think it says something like write down the list of surgeries that you've had. They didn't have enough lines on that paper for me. So I told them, I said, look, it was so many that I've had. Let's just start off with just lupus stuff and then we'll leave it like that. But I've had surgery on, had my tonsils removed. I've had my ACL repaired. Um, I had, oh Lord, I've had eye surgery, um, C-section. I had endometriosis surgery, had my gallbladder removed, had celiac, oh, MALS, which was the celiac artery, the compression. Um, I've had a tummy tuck, a full tummy tuck, and a breast reduction. I thought I lost over 100 and some pounds. I had, I'm trying to remember so much. So I had my tonsils out, a couple of root canals. Um, oh yeah, the celiac artery, which was like open heart surgery. Okay. Hey, if let me say about the tonsil thing. I got my tonsils taken out when I was 25, 25, 26. With my boys last year, they both got their tonsils taken out. David went first, and then a couple of weeks later, Demetrius went. And they was like, Mommy, why we gotta do that? I said, because y'all keep having these darn sinus infections. And the tonsils be all every which way. And I asked their pediatrician, I said, can we get their tonsils out like now? And she knew my backstory. She was like, yeah, let me give you the ENT. And y'all, that was the best proactive step for getting them their tonsils out. Matter of fact, all throughout last year, they didn't miss not one day of school. Um, I thought about it. I was like, they didn't miss not one day of school. And we didn't even have any bad weather days. They have allergies, especially David. He has really, really bad allergies. But took medicine, took what his their inhalers and stuff, and kept it moving. Um, they they both had, especially now Demetrius was like, Mama, I can't stand. Mommy, why would you want me to get this tonsil surgery? This is just too much. I said, but sweetheart, you were having so many problems with your, stuff, nasal and the tonsil and everything. So they had to eat. My husband and I, we bought them all type of popsicles and ice cream and stuff. But like maybe second, third day, I don't want to eat no more popsicle. I don't want to eat any more this and that. I want some real food. I'm like, can't have real food. Can't have anything. And he was mad. They were mad at me. I had to tell when I with David, I let him come outside and let him just kind of get some air. They worked wonders for him. But Demetrius, I had to likely pull him out of the bed and bring him outside on the porch just to get some sun and to recuperate. But yeah, it was something. So I would say if you got to get them tonsils out, get them suckers out. Don't wait. Don't wait. Um, because it causes so many other things, and so get it get it done. Get it done to get taken out. Um, but yeah, the boys they been doing pretty good. Um, this morning I said, David, are you gonna take care of mommy? Mommy's sick. Yes, I take care of you. So when we talked to my mom and my dad, he said, yeah, Papa, I'm taking care of mommy. She's sick. She don't feel good. But can we go to your house? So his little words are coming out beautifully. He has a wonderful speech therapist that he sees weekly at his school. And so that's been something. I also, and I'm going to mention this again, so I'm trying to create a Zoom meeting situation. Oh, well, I'm glad you asked about the hobbies. Okay, so let me explain. I have several hobbies. If you see, the name of my YouTube is Kaliyas Loves Inc. That is a play on of all the hobbies and things that I do to keep me going. The distractions, therapeutic. So starts off with gardening, cooking, crafts. I make jewelry. I make wreaths. Um, I did a video for them, the reefs, and them selling those. Um, I cooking, gardening. Right now, I'm growing tomatoes, okra, and um, okra, and some herbs. Some of my stuff is coming up. I mean, I've been getting quite a bit, but nothing has been produced this year. I didn't even get any production yet. But I'm waiting. That's what I love about it because it teaches you patience. My other hobbies are I love books. Love reading books. Um, um, I say gardening. I say cooking. I love watching cooking shows, and I love to cook. And I actually had to learn. Like my mother cooked all from scratch and all that kind of stuff, and so I osmosis watched her. But when I was in college, and when I would have my like the weekend time, and just kind of unwind every Saturday morning after my Weight Watchers meeting, I would sit and watch the Food Network. Um, and so that has been my thing. Although now my favorite food shows are America's Test Kitchen. Shout outs to the people over there, and rest in peace, Miss El Simone and Cook's Country. I love those. I love the science of food. I love how you can create things. And I also learn and understand how to season without over seasoning. And I have learned how to make I make my own seasons, and that's another thing I want to say. I create my own seasons with the wholesale spices and stuff, and then every time I cook, I prepare and measure out all of the seasons. As far as books, so okay, in college, you got to read every textbook that they tell you to read. But when I graduated, I thought about with um, Claire Huxtable said to she when she did they did the episode of Different World, and I think she was talking to Kim, and she said, "Do you ever have time to just hang out with your girlfriends or read a trashy book that has nothing to do with literature?" And she was like, "No." She said, "Well, you gotta find some hobbies." So, oh, okay, okay, that's fine. Thank you, thank you. So I got into urban fiction. My favorite authors is Sabrina Eubanks. Rest in peace to her. She was a very, very dear good friend to me. Um, okay, see you later, vlogs. And I have several other people that I enjoy reading their books. I have um, I got into the Kindle, the ebook, so it's easier to kind of move around and take and stuff. Carl Weber, those are some of the people I love. Um, and I have the audiobooks thing as well. Um, DIY crafting. Like um, I got into that during so I was a really bad lupus flare, and the therapist taught me came in and showed me some different arts and crafts. And one of the arts and crafts was jewelry making. And I was like, oh, y'all, I fell in love with it and I loved it. I turned that little, class into um, it for my thesis for college. I had to um, build an imaginary business, and so the business was a jewelry business, and the whole thing. And I ended up getting a DBA and all of that. And I took extra classes. Like I went and paid for classes to learn how to make jewelry, cuffs, bracelets, earrings, different wiring techniques. I love it. I can sit for at least a couple hours. Um, Maybe about 10, 20 years ago. But I can sit and just just wire and jewelry make and just, all of that. It's my stress relief. Um, Breathing techniques like meditation, that's another big hobby of mine. Um, I have an area in my living room where I have a little mat that I roll up. It's a yoga mat. And then I sit there and I just do my meditation. Also, my other hobbies is my prayer journals. My Bible study is writing my feelings out and then going to the Bible and seeking answers and interpreting what I'm reading to what I'm going through. So that's another one. Um, I don't want to leave out anything. Um, I haven't gotten to sewing. I mean, like fully on in it. I want to. I really, really want to. So that's okay. Hey y'all, Papa on his way to come pick y'all up. Get your shoes on. So, uh-huh. Yeah. Papa on his way. You got your shoes on? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Your brother, what your brother doing? Okay. Go. You brush your teeth and everything? Okay. Yeah, he's 5. They two of my hearts. Um, trying to remember. It's something else, and my brain is acting a little funny right now. But um, I love cook cookbooks. Like I actually try to collect them if I find cookbooks and stuff. I love recipes. I love taking things apart in a recipe and seeing, dissecting what I like, what I don't like, how I can make it better, or replicating the a recipe. Hold the toothbrush. I'm helping him with his toothbrush. Okay, there you go. Here, take this. Um, let's see. Oh, documentaries. I love historical documentaries. Um, and I feel like I'm missing something because it's like 7. It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me what it is. Oh, Harry Potter, y'all. Okay, so my niece is a avid Harry Potter fan. Matter of fact, she had all of the Harry Potter series books. She read them over and over and over again. Um, I just kind of like Zoom, read little clips and stuff like that online. It really hadn't gotten to me, cloak and daggers and stuff like that and all that. Just, but I said I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to, broaden a little bit more. But I love urban fiction. And let me tell you, I like urban fiction, mature urban fiction, because to me, you have like two different uh, areas. You have the urban fiction where the people in like their 20s and they can do everything all day long. They can, party. Nobody's resting. Nobody hangs out. No real problems, or everything works out well in the book, and that's okay. I actually kind of like that type of Cinderella ending for urban fiction. But I'm getting older, so I like things a little bit more mature um, stuff. So, um, and I like biographies. Um, um, I like to write. I like to write. I like to write journal, and that has always been with me since I was a young girl. We had to do it for school, but also my mom and my mom and dad really encouraged me to write my feelings out. And so journaling is one of my biggest um, therapeutic things to write my feelings out. Um, I love outside. Like I love nature. I love hearing the birds and animals. Just they're out and they're moving about and just hear them communicating with each other. I love it. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I was not outside that much, and because of lupus, I can't sit out there that long. But with my porch is set up, I can sit outside for about a good 10 minutes, and then I come on back in. But I can see and hear, all the stuff. Matter of fact, when we moved to this house, we have killdeer that are native to this area, and so our first year, we had a killdeer family of birds that lived. They actually set up their nesting right on my flower beds in the front part of the house. So people come over and say, "I have any pets?" And I have to say, "Yes, we do. We have a family of killdeers, and kill the dad, the male is he goes and get all of the food and sets everything up for her, and then the female she sits on her nest on her eggs, and then she just wait for them to hatch. So she will make the loudest noise. So I call her Patty Aretha. She was she would just I don't. It was like it really felt like listening to Patty and Aretha singing the highest note that they can do. I think something happened to her because I haven't seen her this year, but she's been that little family was here every year since we moved in. But yeah, that's one of the things there. Um, I like organizing. Um, it I get a rush of organizing things, um, and putting things up in order. Let's see. Oh, I like different foods. I like my husband and I. We are really we, and that's how we actually kind of bond because we like to try different foods, and actually like a lot of stuff that we didn't like maybe 20 years ago we would have said I ain't trying that. We tried and we like it. Um, okay, so he likes scallops. I do not like them. I had a roommate that made them, and they were so she hooked them up. I couldn't get over the taste. So, but husband's all right with it. But I like mussels and I like clams. He doesn't like mussels or clams. He said that's just a waste of time. Had a little piece of meat inside the shell. But yeah. Oh, I got. I have a nail tech license. I had to let it go, like not pay for it anymore because at the time I was really deep off into my studies and my lupus was going every which way. I needed insurance and medicine, so it was like one of those, well, which one do you pay first? So I let it lapse, but I still have, I'm if you look me up, I had a nail license, and I got it my second year of college because I had a scholarship. I had a really nice scholarship from school. My high school gave me a scholarship, and then the first college I went to, they matched it, and then I got grants and scholarships from the state of Texas. So I thought I was set. Thought I was set to be in college, and I didn't have to worry. And I had a little job. I worked at a Long John Silver's. I had been there since I was 17. I didn't really know and understand like what it took to pay for college and what all I needed. And when I started working, and when I started going to college, my hours at Long John had to decrease. I needed time to study and everything. And I certainly wasn't making a whole lot to begin with. Um, so the first year of college, I had the scholarship. Um, y'all, I was so off balance. I could not figure out I I needed. Put it like this. I I got into college knowing, hey, you can handle this. I started taking. I took the interest exam. So yeah, and I failed it and had to take remedial classes, remedial reading, remedial math, remedial English. Let me tell you that tore my ego up. That tore my ego and my pride up. But I was an honor student, and I was just like, what the hell? I need that for. But when I got into the class, I was like, oh shit, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how this is supposed to go, so I need to pay attention. So trying to balance it. I went. When I started college. 9/11 was September. So while we had I was in school maybe about a couple of weeks, and then 9/11 happened. So it did something to me with trauma, and I just I need at that point I started seeing a therapist on campus, but it was a whole lot. So I took that first semester. I took 4 classes. So what's that? 12 hours. I passed. I think it was one or two. No, my I passed the credit class, which was the voice and diction class, which was a pretty good class. I made an A. Go figure, huh? I talk a lot, but my remedial classes I didn't pass. And yeah, I don't know if my study habits, my way of thinking. I thought maybe if I can just go in and the next night before work on the paper and then turn it in. I was used to that procrastination. That shit does not work. Don't. The second year, well, and then they put me on academic probation, and they cut it down. Probably gave me, I think, 75% of the scholarships. So that meant I had to figure out the rest. So I saved some of my Long John checks, and then my mom and dad gave me some money to help me get into the second semester. And that second semester, I did good. I passed everything. Passed everything. I buckled down. I got focused. And another thing, I was going through a really bad breakup my first year of college. But I buckled down the second semester, spring semester, and I passed. And I passed everything. Um, so going into the summer, I was like, oh, Long John is not paying me enough. I you know, I don't want to depend on that too much. And mind you, I had an accident there. I hurt myself on these like ice bins, and I went to move it so I can clean it, and I hurt my shoulder. So it's workman's comp, so you can't work, so they give you your check every 2 weeks. And at that point, I didn't want to be there no more. I didn't want to be there no more. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to deal with all of the customers and the back. These people would, like, my check would come to the store, and they would open it up, and they would be like, "Well, it's addressed to Long John Silver's." Yeah, but that don't mean you got to open up my shit. And so by May, I was like, I gotta do something else. So my sister told me, she said, "Why don't you go and try to do nails? You love doing nails." I mean, like, I love doing my nails and my feet and all that stuff. I said, "You really think I could?" Yeah, yeah. So I checked out, called a couple places, and at the time, not a lot of the places were offering just the nail certificate because I didn't want to do the whole cosmetology thing. Plus, I was still in college. I just needed a few months to study, to get this nail license. That's how I was looking at it. So anyway, I started in May, um, and it took me, I think it was 5 or 6 months I started in May. I finished, I think it was like October, November when I completed the nail program. And so when school started, like the summer, I went every day full time. When school started, um, I took 12 hours again. Wrong mistake. Then I had like scheduled my classes like I had one class, it was an English class. It was like I think it was like 7 something in the morning. I took that class twice, and I was in the class, and this is not for me. It was too early. I couldn't think. I couldn't. I just was not awake, even though I drove over there. So I dropped that one, which brought me down to 9 hours. And then I took history, political science, and math, remedial math. This the other part of it. They got like 2 or 3 different sections. Was not doing that well. Struggling. Hold on, that's my dad. At 4 o'clock.
Copy. 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 No. Easy. Ow. Cream it. I do. I do. That. Come on there. Let's go.
ended. Oh, okay. Hold the line. Hold the line. I gotta go to the restroom. These little boys go with their papa. Hold the line. Okay, I'm back. Okay, boys, papa came and got them. So let me pick up where I left off in the story. So this is fun. My therapist, we were talking about me doing these types of blogs and stuff. So let me let me start off by saying this. I was a very good student in high school, middle school. Very studious. All that kind of stuff. The college, I don't know. I didn't look at it as the same way, or I looked at it as going to be like high school. You know, come home, do stuff. What I didn't prepare for, was not prepared for, was how to set up the studying, how to set up my notes, um, and how to take the notes. So what I saw, a lot of people had like a 5 subject spiral notebook, and they would write their notes in there. Well, let me tell you, that is the worst idea that you could ever have for anything, because unless you plan on going back and looking through all that stuff, you not, you not. So that was one of the issues. Second issue was I didn't I didn't know how to balance that. The studying, reading the chapters, doing the work. It was procrastination for me. Um, so when I got the nail license, the year that I was doing my nail license and then going to school, I was taking my general course classes like English 1301, political science, um, freshman political science, history. And let me tell you, when you're in college, and I went when I went to college, online was not a big option. It was not something you just went and did. Did you had to go into school. But what happened? Um, I was having to learn how to rethink, how to balance everything. So I started attempting to put, like get my this folder, that folder, and this and that. It still wasn't working. So I was trying to balance my nail because I would go to school in the morning. I would go to my college in the morning, and then around 1 o'clock, I would be at the nail college, and I would be there till like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Um, and then trying to unwind and all of that. Another thing, lupus was playing in there because I was having symptoms and flares, and I was not diagnosed yet, so I didn't know how to say stop, let me rest. I didn't have that vocabulary yet. So I passed the nail. So I finished my nail license. I think it was November, and then I took the test in December. And at the time, you had to go to Austin and get a hotel room, and you and your model had to be there, and you sat there all day. You did the written, and then the written exam, and then you did the practical exam. Um, I think my exam had to do with odorless acrylics. because I remember getting the oldest acrylic, and then we had to put the tips on. So I passed my nail license exam with flying colors. Like I got, like I, let's say I went maybe December 5th, and my birthday, December 18th, I got the letter saying you passed. Yay, you got your nail license. But I got my grades from college, and I failed everything. I failed everything. Matter of fact, I had stopped going to class around November. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't function. I couldn't keep up. Um, it was bad. So scholarship had been reduced again. So I think they allowed me to do, I think it was 6 hours. And I was trying to build this nail license, build this nail career, trying to get clients, trying to market. I ended up getting into Mary Kay and what's some vitamins? Some vitamin program. I can't remember the name of it. Advocare, that's what it was. And trying to build a thing in there. It was so much. And I was just like, I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. So from there, I got a letter. I think it was April of that spring semester, and they said, "You cannot come back to the school no more. You have failed out. You have flunked out. Um, you are not allowed to go to any 4-year institution and get any financial aid, and so on and so forth." Boy, I was so scared. And at the time when I got the letter, my parents had went out of town to help my uncle. His wife had passed, and so he was moving him, transitioning back to Texas. So I got scared. I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna kick me out of the house." So I went to a good friend of mine, went to her school, and we talked. And I said, "Girl, help me get out of here." So we were looking at schools and stuff. We looked at this school, I think it was in South Dakota, and I was gonna have a whole new identity and everything. Serious. I was so serious about this. So my mom came home. I showed them the letter and everything. I had packed my bags and had it sitting right there in my room, like they get ready to make me, get out. And so she was like, "What is all of this?" I said, "Well, y'all gonna kick me out because I just found I got kicked out of school." And she was like, "I kind of figured this was going to happen." So I said, "But what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to South Dakota and I'm gonna go to college out there and I'm gonna do this and this and that." And say, "You don't have to do all that. Remember when you was in high school and I made you apply for Houston Community College, and you was like, 'No, I don't want to go to no community college. It's not a real school.'" I'm like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you already applied, so you just go back over there. They said you can't go to a 4-year university. They didn't say you can't go to a 2-year, and they say you can't pay your way." I'm like, wow. See, that's why when you have good parents, that's having a good parent. So she was like, "I'm gonna take you up to the school the next, this was like the weekend. So let's say the Monday." She was like, "We're gonna go up there and I'm gonna help you get enrolled." And sure enough, she went with me. She held my hand and was like, "It's okay. Life happens, and it's how you pick yourself up." So we go to ACC and we talk to the career counselor, explaining them what I was doing. They looked at my transcript and stuff, and the guy was like, "Well, you could." He said, "Don't try to take 4 and 5 classes. Just take one, and take the class that you're struggling with the most, which was the math." He's like, "And I'm gonna bring you in and take a remedial math that's a little lower so that I can work my way up to the one that I was struggling with." And he's like, "And then you're gonna pay for it out of your own pocket, and then you're gonna teach yourself how to be a college student." It's a different world from being a high school student and college student. You can't skid by. You can't have shortcuts. You have to have a system that you have to come up with so that you can graduate. College is set up like that. um, you have to have some type of organization. So this was the summer. I took the class, and it was a lab. So I was able to go every single day, even on the weekends, so I can, catch up and learn, and to have meet with the tutor. Um, I would even go after church because the lab will open on Sundays. So after church, I would go have dinner with my parents. Then I said, I'm head on to class. I got an A. I got an A in that class. I was so proud of myself. And I paid, I think it was $150 for my tuition for that one class. The following semester, fall, I did not have no scholarship, but I was working. I was doing my nail thing, and I was doing pretty good. So I would save my money. My mom had me like, I would like every time I did somebody's nails, I would take out like maybe $20, $10, put it to the side, and then pay for my insurance and my car, whatever. But that's how I was able to pay for my tuition. And I took two classes that fall. Took history and something. I forgot. Because I ended up taking the mini class in Christmas. So I did like two classes for the fall, and then for Christmas break, I did another class, which was the English class that I told you I switched out. I met a teacher, professor. This woman she's my angel. I love her. Her name is Miss Novak. She taught me how to set myself up for success. For class, she said, "This is what I need y'all to have. Here's the syllabus. This is the material you need to have." She said, "If I'm taking a step further, I'm gonna show y'all. You need to have your school supplies. You need to have." She's like, "Don't come here with the spiral notebook that got 5 subjects. Get you several spiral notebooks for each subject, and then get the 3-prong folder, and then get you a binder for each class." And she was like, "And make it color coordinated. That way you know what color goes with what. And then have index cards." And I'm like, "What?" And it worked. And it worked. And I listened. And I went to her and I said, "Can you help me set this up?" And she did. I went in her office and she helped me set it up, how to, make it look. What she was trying to show me was, this is your history folder, this is your history binder, this is your history notebook. So I had a spiral notebook. I wrote my notes in. The 3-prong I put in like the like handouts and stuff like that. And then my binder is had my rewritten notes. It had my index cards. It had tests or tests and the like we had to write papers, had that in there. And when I tell y'all, when I realized that, whoo, I became the student that I was born to be. That semester, I passed both those classes with B's. Yeah, and then I took the class in the English class in the Christmas. I made an A minus because I messed up on this word. But she took off like 10 points my paper. But still, I was better prepared. The other thing, my body was just wearing down and acting crazy. And I kept trying to ignore it. My eyes was I was seeing floaters. My shoulders, my joints was hurting so bad. I had a cold, a sinus situation that just would not go away. So 2004 going into 2004, I just turned 21 and trying to, you know, grown now. March, I go in. I went to the eye doctor so they look at my eyes, and I had been going to the same eye doctor since a little girl. My mom really helped us understand, like, you pick a doctor, you stick with them until either they leave you or you leave them, but you set up a rapport. So people, they was like, okay, I don't think your issue is your eyes per se. I think it's something a little bit more in depth. And so I go to So you got to go to your general practitioner. So I'm learning all these new vocabulary words of, you know, school and doctor and all that stuff. I go to um, my PCP, primary care doctor, and I had been seeing this guy since high school. Or I've been in this with these people since no middle school, high school, and so they were the first ones to tell me when I was 15 that we tested you, um, and it shows that you have lupus, but we can't diagnose you because you're a juvenile, and they didn't have juvenile drugs for lupus. 7 years later, I get the diagnosis, and I was also trying to prepare to leave. I wanted to leave and go off to college. I wanted that whole experience of living, off campus and having your own, and just the whole different world, type of experience. And I was preparing for it. I was called. I had went on Google and I pulled up every HBCU in the United States, every HBCU, and then I narrow it down like, okay, who's private, who's not private, like what could I afford, and then it was okay, how far do I want to go to finish school. So at this time, while I'm getting the exam, so I went in for my exam like maybe I went like on a Tuesday. They called me Thursday and said you got to come back in, we have your results. And what they did, they gave me a blood test, they gave me EKG, they gave me X-ray, and there was something else I don't remember. And I got back in Tuesday, and they said, my doctor said, here's what's going on. You have lupus. He said, I'm going to give you the diagnosis, but you got to go to a rheumatologist for them to give you the prognosis so that it is a complete diagnosis. And I'm like, okay. So, well, you have lupus. It's SLE lupus. He said, right now it's mild from what I can see, but your rheumatologist will be able to kind of go more in depth with that. And I said, oh, okay, okay. And I was like, yay. Seriously. I was like, yay. There's the name to this shit. So I'm not losing my mind. So I said, well, okay, now that we have the diagnosis and everything, so what do I go from here? Like what he said, well, let me let you know that lupus is a very strange illness. It's very unpredictable, and you don't need stress. Okay. So he said, put it this way. Are you in college? Have you graduated college yet? I said, no, I'm still in there. I'm at ACC. He said, okay. You may have to consider dropping out. Dropping out? And then he said, yeah. And then he said, are you dating anyone? Are you in a relationship with someone? I said, no, I'm just dating, no one's serious. He said, well, don't look forward to, how you put it. He said, you may not get married because your partner would not be able to handle all of the things, unpredictable things that are going on with your body, and it could be very stressful. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So it's two. Then he said, do you want to have kids at some point in your life? And I was like, yeah, and I'm married later on. He said, well, that's that's not that shouldn't that shouldn't happen. Um, Having a child with lupus is dangerous. And I'm like, you gave me the list, you gave me the diagnosis, and it's like, yay, but then now I can't do nothing. And I said, well, doctor, I appreciate everything, but I worship God, and I'm gonna let him tell me what he want me to do. So he went to give me like a hug, and he said, I'm so sorry that I'm having to give you this news, but I have to give you all of the options. And it was really hard to swallow and digest. So I said, could you give me a minute so I can pray? And I got on that little bench. When you're in the doctor's office, they have this little pull-out bench that you put your feet on. Well, I kneeled on it and I prayed. And I said, Lord, I'm coming to you right now. Thank you for giving me this diagnosis, because now we know all this stuff that I keeps happening to me, there's a name for it. And there's a doctor that can take care of me and so on and so forth. But this other stuff he's talking about, I I know you got the utmost. I said, and Lord, I just want to finish school. You let me finish school. I don't care what degree it's in. Um, and as far as marriage, Lord, send me to the right guy, and send him to me and meeting him, not just anybody. And I said, as far as kids, I said, I didn't even think about being a parent in that sense. I was like, but I do want to have a legacy. So I said, I want to have 4 kids, but if you give me just in one, you know, I'll be sufficient. And I said, and I will serve you for the rest of my days, and I will let everybody know how wonderful God you are. So I sat with it. I went back home, sat my parents down that evening, told them what was going on, because they knew I had this appointment. And I was like, hey, got good news. Got lupus. I go, okay. And said, but I'm also going to leave. You leaving? I said, yeah, I'm gonna move away. I'm gonna go to college. And at the time, I was told by FAMU, so I'm gonna go to Florida, Tallahassee. And my mom and dad were like, wait a minute, you just found out you had lupus today, and then now you talking about you gonna move away? And when you moving? I said, well, I hope to be at least there by the summer, like, because this was spring, by the summer or fall. And I had just got a letter from FAFSA saying, you're off for academic probation. You can apply for financial aid. Your grades will improve and all that. So that was that other driving force to say, hey, you can do this. So you know, my mom and dad took it hard. We had a few family members that has or that had lupus. It was it was a word. It was a diagnosis. It was a disease that was at the kitchen table. Everyone knew, but we loved on them. We prayed for them, and because they didn't look for us to be like, oh, sorry, like that. Going back a few months, this happened in March. Going back, I think February, January, that semester, I was doing the second part of my history class, Miss Novak, and one of the assignments was we had to talk with a grandparent, a great aunt, a great uncle, but mainly like if we had grandparents that are still alive, and ask them about their growing up, the family lineage, the background. At the time, my mother's mother, my mom was taking care of her mom. She lived with us and she had Alzheimer's. So asking her something was out the question. My mom knew enough where I was able to take that part of the paper and put that in. Her dad was really ill, so she knew enough from his situation, put that in. So that meant I had my dad's mother and my dad's dad, and they were separated. They were divorced. They lived in the same town, but they were divorced, married to 2 different people. And at the time, I was told about this project in January, and let's say around February or so, my grandmother called and was like, hey, y'all, I need some help. The blood bank is what they want to charge me for all that blood that they had to give me. But if I can get my family to donate blood, then they won't, bill her for that. And she had asked all her children, all the grandchildren, and nobody was a match, or could give the type of blood that they needed. And I think I'm O positive. And I was the match. And I drove from Houston to Beaumont. That was my first trip ever out of town by myself. And I go to Beaumont. I go to the blood center. No, matter of fact, I met her husband at the this gas station, and then we drove over to the thing. And they, took my blood, and I sat there and everything. And my grandmother is bragging on me, y'all. I felt like I felt like a little golden queen up there. She was like, and it's my granddaughter, and she did this and that, and she did this, and she did that. And then her husband, he was like, yeah, this my grandbaby. She in school. She doing this, that. She doing this and this and that. And I'm just sitting there with my arm, just getting the blood done. Afterwards, and I told grandma, I said, when I do the blood work, I'm gonna go to your house, and I do this thing for this project for my class, and I have to ask you some questions about your background. And she's okay. So she cooked. She cooked, and y'all, I don't remember what she cooked, but I know it was good. My grandmother was a superb cook, both of them. But Miss Josie, Miss Josie could cook her butt off with her eyes closed, tied behind her back. So I'm sitting there eating, fixing a plate, and I'm asking the questions. And I said, well, okay, Grandma, I need y'all to listen to this. I said, okay, what was it like growing up for you? Where did you actually, where were you born? What were you actually, what was this like? So she tells me this incredible story. First, she said, no one's ever really asked me about that. I've been trying to tell, like, my kids and the grandkids, my whole story, but it just never seems to be the right time. And I understand that some things it's hard to talk about. So I'm asking her these tough questions. So she says, well, her mom died when she was 5, and her dad was a slave. Talk about intriguing. So she tells the story. She said, my dad told me that his mom was a slave and her husband was a slave, and they had 2 boys, and they lived on a plantation. Um, and the boys were grown at this time. And a couple of years before the Civil War, the South knew that this was happening. They knew that they were going to emancipate the slaves. They knew Civil War was going to happen. So what this slave owner did, he raped her. He got her pregnant. And the thing was, if you had slaves that were under 18, they had to stay and as apprentices. And so she's pregnant with this child that is not her husband's child, and she's a slave. So by the time my grandmother's dad was born, I'm sorry, by the time the Civil War is like broken out and it's whatever, I think he was like 9 years old, and the 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 older boys could leave. The daddy for the older boys, they can leave, but Joseph and his mother could not leave, and they tried to escape. They tried to escape, and it didn't work out. It wasn't successful. They killed the 2 boys, and they think they killed the daddy too. And one of the boys, his name was Anthony. My uncle is named after him. He was Big Anthony. My grandmother explained he looked like not Paul Bunyan, but the other one, the one that did the machete, that did the nailing on those rails, those road railroads. I'm trying to get the story straight. It was a horrible story. It was a horrible story. So he stayed in slavery, enslaved. His mother eventually died, and then he was granted some land to sharecrop. This is my great grandfather Joseph, And so he's a bitter old man, a bitter young man at this point. And he had he was growing corn and some other things, and the sheriff dog would come. I mean, a pig would come and eat up his stuff, and he kept telling them, "Stop letting your pig, your livestock come in here and eat up my things. This is my livelihood." And they were like, "F you, my animal can do whatever it want to do." So he said, "Well, if he come back over here, I'm gonna shoot him." Well, the pig came back over. They shot him. The deputy came to arrest him, and he said, "No, I don't want you to arrest him. I want the sheriff to arrest him because I told him what was up." So they did. They arrested him. They put him in jail. At the time, he was illiterate, but he was very intelligent. And so the men that were in the jail with him, they told him, "Hey, we'll teach you how to read, um, and we'll help you build a church." Um, and that's what happened. He was freed. Him and those men, they taught him how to read. They taught him the Bible. They taught him how to um, become a preacher, and they built him a church. My great grandfather was a world renowned, I would say world renowned, but a local mini celebrity in the South. Um, my grandmother's mother was younger than him, and they got married. Um, and he never wanted to claim kids that people said that he had. Well, when they told him, when my grandmother's mother passed, and like she was 5, he met her, and her family was basically like, we love her, but we can't take care of this little girl, and her mom, and our mom and dad, and we got our own families. So they go to court. She gets her dad gets custody of her, and he tells her, my wife now, she's a pharmacist, and they own a pharmacy, and they sell ice cream. And he said, "I'm gonna let you scoop the ice cream." She said she was so excited. "I get to scoop ice cream. I get to scoop ice cream." So they essentially had, a black-owned pharmacy in Beaumont. My grandmother was born in Bogalusa, and raised for the first 5 years of her life there. Um, Her dad was, um, he lived in Alexandria, Louisiana, all these different places. So when he gets my grandmother, they moved to Beaumont, which is where him and his wife is staying. And they eventually had another child, his son. The goal or the plan was for my grandmother to go to McHarry, which is where her stepmother went, to get, I think it was either they want her to be a doctor or a pharmacist. And she wanted to be. She really did. I mean, let's put it like this. If the opportunity and everything was, my grandmother would have been, she would have been a great doctor or a pharmacist. I mean, her knowledge of those things was just um, astute. Matter of fact, when I found out I had lupus and I told her, she was like, "I got you, baby. I got you." And so if we would always talk about she would always give me some type of remedy, different things, and it always worked. And if I forgot, she would be like, "Remember I told you to take this and this and this and that." So I'm sharing this story because this is set with me for 20 something years. And this story here, when we sat and talked about this, my life changed. My life changed. And then she grew up, she went to high school, college, all that stuff. She met my grandfather when she was, I think, in ninth grade. And they started dating, and then they got pregnant and got married. And my great grandfather was not happy about that because she had all these plans and things for her. You know, love is love. My grandfather was older. My dad's dad, he was a little older than her, and at the time he had just finished college. I didn't know until this story that he had actually went to college. I didn't know that. We didn't talk about those things. Um, when I talked to my grandmother, she explained how much she loved him and how much he loved her, and but they were young. They were young and they were very inexperienced, and they did the best they could. And they had 7 children. And for the majority of her children's like rearing ages, she worked as a maid. Um, when she would think about those situations of the maid jobs, she would she would cry. It was a lot of trauma in that. A lot of trauma in that. When I was born in '82, she had been a she was a business owner. She had a beauty shop that was in her backyard. She had converted like part of her house and made a beauty shop. She went back to school when my dad was like, I think a senior in high school or something like that. And her family helped her with her children so she can go to school. Um, so she told me the story, and it's bringing tears to my eyes, but it's also helping me understand where that resilience comes in me, where that persistency, where that tenacity, where that determination comes. Um, she was the daughter of a slave, not granddaughter, but daughter. On my mom's side, her parents were slaves as well. Um, so to know that I come 2 generations out was unbelievable, which gave me a different appreciation and understanding of history and my family, which made me understand why we have moved in different why we moved where we moved. My On both sides of my family, they're from Louisiana, from Westlake all the way to Bogalusa, that whole southern, east, west eastern part of Louisiana, both sides. And as opportunities arose, they moved out. They moved out of those little country towns, and then they came into Texas. My dad is the first one, well, not the first, but he was born in Texas. Um, and my mom was born in Louisiana. She was raised in Louisiana. But my dad was raised between Texas and Louisiana because, my grandma needed help. So sisters helped her. And we, we, we built a wonderful connection, my grandmother and I. She became, she became my hero at that point. She became this woman that just extraordinary. And she told me this joke. She said her dad told her when she was growing up, don't you go to Alexandria, Louisiana, because you may find one of your sister or brothers there that I haven't claimed. A couple of years later, no, the following year, that same year I met my husband, and I met his aunt, his dad, his uncle's wife. She was from Alexandria. I saw this lady the first time I saw her. I freaked out. She looked just like my grandmother. It was unbelievable. And when I meet people that are from Alexandria, I see Joseph Jones. It's unreal. It's unreal. But going back to the story. So here's another thing. My grandmother passed. Um, my mom's mom passed in 2006. She passed like maybe I think about 6, 7 months before my wedding. I was engaged at the time. Um, and then my grandfather passed like I think like maybe 7, 8 months before that. So I just had the two grandparents, and so um, when my grandmother Josephine she passed in 2022, 23. I was getting ready to have this celiac open heart open surgery, the depression, and COVID was still rampant, and I wanted to go to the funeral, and they said well you can't go. And I'm like, but I want to, say goodbye. She died unexpected. It was like real sudden, like, whoo, it was so quick. So anyway, we meet. I mean, my doctor said, I found out through my parents that they were going to have a wake for her, and she wanted to be cremated. So I asked my doctor. I said, well, they're gonna have a wake for her. Can I just go to that? And she said, okay, you go, you see her, and then you come right back. Like, don't stay long. Don't try to whatever. And I was okay. For the obituary, my cousin called and asked me about pictures. Like, do you have any pictures with grandma or you and grandma in it? And I have a bunch of pictures of me and her in a picture together. And it's like in the picture, and it's maybe like 7, 8 people in the picture, and I'm on one side and she's on the other side. We didn't have any pictures where it was just me and her. And she had been at all my life's events, but for some reason we didn't have that. So I'm sharing this story because we had that bond of her telling me her story. Then when I moved off to Tallahassee, every time I would because I would like come home for Christmas and winter break and summer break, and whoever was riding with me, she would pack us a picnic, a, a shoebox lunch, and she put a homemade fried chicken, homemade peach cobbler, tea cakes, homemade tea cakes. She had I think cornbread was in there. I'm mistaken. She had tea, sweet tea. Um, I think we had fruit. There's no pictures in that, but the memory sits with me. And those are the bonds that we share. Um, I have pictures of her, and I look just like her. Um, and I miss her. I miss her. I miss her tremendously. I miss calling her and saying, like, right now, like, if me with this fever, calling her and say, Grandma, I don't feel good. I'm this fever and I've been sick. And she said, okay, let's pray. And her thing was, go to the bathroom, go to the toilet and pray. That's where you're the most vulnerable, and that's where she believed God can really hear you and you can really hear God because it's just you in the walls. She was a very spiritual lady, very spiritual. Um, and I, as the years go by, I think about how she was just, um, how each one of us had our own relationship with us. She had 7 children, um, and I think it's 10 grandchildren. Um, each one of us had our own relationship with her, and she made sure of that. It didn't make sense until after she passed, to me. Um, One thing we liked, okay, so my grandmother liked ice cream. She liked bluebell ice cream, but not the regular bluebell, the sugar free or the light. And she kept a half gallon of that. Her husband liked like the pop, like the ice cream sandwiches and stuff like that, or Nestle Crunch sandwiches. And they didn't eat it all the time. It just was like, oh, I have a taste for this. When I have a taste, I'll go and get me some. So the ice cream would sit there for months. And I mean, we visit them a lot. But yeah. And so I was one of the only ones that wanted ice cream every time I go over there. And so she started saying, I'm gonna make sure my grandbaby have, ice cream when she gets here. So that was one of those things there. Um, when she passed, I was my mom gave me it's an ice cream scoop. I have I have a spatula with the holes in it. I have three of those, and then I have her makeup bag. She had sent me this bag that had it. She bought a bracelet, and it broke, and she wanted me to fix it. And this was when my lupus was crazy. I just had my oldest. She said, whenever you get a chance, you know, fix it. And I went and got all the stuff. She wrote a little note. I think I have the note. I have the note. I have the note. Can't put that in an obituary, but it's in my heart. I take her everywhere. I think about her. I pray about her. Um, she was both of them heroes. They took care of they had all these kids, but I noticed that each one of their children had their own connection with her. That's a mother. You don't see that often. To see your grandmother have a connection, and this could be the smallest little thing. Um, when we would go to her house for like Sundays, so she would always cook Sundays. Don't without fail. Mm-mm. She didn't play that. We gonna go in, go out to eat. It was only special occasions, mainly like her birthday. She would be like, I'm not cooking. We'll all go out to eat. But she would make okra, stewed okra with sausage and shrimp. She would make cornbread. She would do either cabbage or green beans, depending on, I guess, the seasons. We have some type of meat, so it would be pork chops, chicken, a roast. Um, her fruit, her fruit was on the fruit basket on the kitchen table. In her refrigerator, she had sodas, diet soda. She had regular soda and diet. So, for example, you have like the Sunkiss. She would have like the Sunkiss orange, the Sunkiss red, but then she'll have the Diet Sunkiss orange and the Diet Sunkiss red. And so you had choice, and it would be in the section where you put your fruits and vegetables in the crisper. That was always funny to me. It's The memories have helped with the grief. Talking about this now, I've been on this thing for over an hour, and talking about this um, is helping me. This is something that she actually taught me to do when I would have moments of like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so sick. She would remind me, God hasn't given up on you. You just got to listen because He's trying to tell you something. And it was always one of those lessons of you got to sit, and she loved this to say this. You got to get somewhere and sit down. You got to get somewhere and sit down and let God talk to you. And it makes perfect sense. We go through things in life, and God will He's trying to let us know, get yourself somewhere and sit down and let me talk to you. Let me help you get out of that because you can't do it by yourself. Um, when I got pregnant with David, we talked about it and we was excited. And she said, you and your family, y'all gonna get y'all a house. Y'all gonna get a house, and David's gonna be the key to the door opening. And they did meet. They did meet. My took him, my mom, dad took him to her, and they. And let me tell y'all, David looks just like her dad. It's unbelievable. Uh, but on another thing, she was very stylish. Um, she loved boots, and she had big wide calves like I do. And she ordered her boots. She loved her boots. This lady was just, and oh, she was a hairdresser. We called it a hair. Her nickname was the hair doctor. I think it's because the beauty shop was called Ramella's Hair Clinic, which is her middle name. She specialized in treating your hair and getting it to grow back. This woman had this business. She worked in that from the late 60s to the early 2000s when she retired. Um, I was thinking about the other day how everybody worked during the week, and if we would go, we would have these like um, holidays. Like for example, my cousins can probably remember this. So the the house that she moved in Beaumont with her second husband, a third husband, they remodeled it over and over, like made expanded because obviously she had 7 kids and I think he had 2 or 3 plus grandkids and stuff like that. So they was always trying to make sure the house is expandable. So we all because we stayed there, we spent the night there. So um, my first lesson in making sure you have all your stuff packed. So this is a Christmas. I probably was about 5 or 6 years old, and my parents had these orange Samsonite, those old orange, the heavy duty luggage, and so my suitcase was the smaller one, and my mom and dad said, "Okay, Khalid, get your stuff, put your stuff in there, put your stuff in there, put your stuff in there," for days. And okay. And I had the dress I was supposed to wear. I had the outfit I was supposed to wear after I took the dress off. I had the pajamas. I had the underwear. And then that was about, yeah. So after that, um, we over at the house having fun. We watching videos and movies. She loved Michael Jackson. And we dancing and we are just, the cousins and I, we are having a ball. And everybody started changing into like something. It was winter, but we was getting hot. This is all these bodies. I didn't bring anything extra. I kept looking in that suitcase thinking I was gonna find some shorts or a t-shirt. No one had anything that I could wear that could fit. So from that point on, I learned always pack extra because you never know. Um, my grandma didn't mind feeding you. So that was what that was. I'm gonna have to get off from here because it's time for me to go to my doctor's appointment. But I love you all. Thank y'all for your time and listening to me vent and just hearing more about my story. I love you all. Peace.